Okay, I think we're live. Hello everyone. Hope you guys are doing well. I'm gonna set the live stream clock right now. So we'll just get that set up. And then we're also just going to quickly update the team. So my team right now has Saka. I am planning to move to Sun, but I'm waiting for any sort of last minute information over the course of this hour. And if the information is good, then we'll just simply move towards Sun. And that's the plan. I'm also thinking of actually playing Leaf Davis in my team. So I think there's a world where I do bench Gabriel. I know a lot of people will find it silly, but I think I'm probably going to lean to do it because it's just a very good game on paper for Leaf Davis, and I'd like to take that sort of punt. Is pretty much the gist of it. I know that's Leaf Davis versus DCL, but a lot of the Leaf Davis strength is in attack as well. So that's why I'm thinking about making that sort of move, and pretty comfortable doing it as well, to be quite honest. So yeah, that's the general plan. Anyways, let's go into some questions in chat. So hello, welcome FPL Oz or Australia, I suppose. JP, bench one of ESR DSL Rogers. I'd probably just bench Rogers. What do you think of Foden? I think he's a great pick. Um, his minutes this season have been a little bit poor, and that's even with KDB being out at times. So I think that that's quite significant. But you know, for the most part, Foden's a wonderful pick. OP Talent, thank you for the super chat. Only one free, Saka to Son or Roll. Welbeck first bench. I think Welbeck obviously doesn't have a great game. I don't think, if I'm being honest, that there's a huge Saka out kind of threat, right? I think Saka will play this week, but I'll go Son. Did I just wake up? Yes, I did. Absolutely. I slept pretty late last night, unfortunately. I was just catching up with a bit of work. Good to see you, Deepak, as well. Thoughts on starting Gordon versus Minte? I would just start Gordon personally. I like to start my home players in those situations. You never know if Isak's ready to play, I guess, as well. He should, but, you know, that's always a bit of pen share to Gordon sometimes. Hello, Seb. Hope you're doing well. Morning, Philip. Morning, Caleb. Sorry about starting late. Robert as well. Morning to you. Am I going to do Saka to Sun? Yes, I am. I am going to do Saka to Sun. I'll probably pin that I'm planning to do Saka to Sun over this game week, over this deadline stream. Just waiting for news. I think the plan really with the Sun move is that I think that Sun's next 4 fixtures are better than Saka's next 4 fixtures. And I think that Palmer's next 4 fixtures are ultimately better than Saka's. So this week, obviously, is much better for Saka than Palmer. But I think when it comes to Newcastle and the Man United game, when I try to balance that out, I think ultimately I'm a bit more enthusiastic about Palmer's games over this run than, let's say, Saka's. And I'll just simply move Sun back into Saka in game week 12 if I want to do so, is the general plan. Anish, member for 11 months, thank you so much. As a present as well, any idea for Charleston starts? I don't think there's any way he starts. I think Solanke has pretty much been bought to start consistently, and I really can't see Richarlison taking anything but maybe like 5-10 minutes in the game from Solanke. If Richarlison does play, I think it's more of a case where Richarlison could definitely play ahead of maybe Son for a few minutes, because keep in mind that, okay, there's Werner, there's Richarlison who can play left wing at times. And I think that the point to make here is that Son could be subbed off a little bit earlier just due to coming back from a hamstring injury. But I don't think it's that serious. What's my premise behind Saga Sun? So basically just that, right? Trying to, when I look at my team now, I don't think I will really need to make any moves over the next 3 weeks. So yeah. Diaz the Sun and downgrade Trent. I mean, if you've got Diaz, I guess there's some players in that sort of position and price point that you can go to, right? You can still probably just go down to Brennan Johnson if you want to, as opposed to having to take Trent out of the team. I still think Trent is pretty strong for this week. Dibbling or Rogers, I'd definitely play Dibbling. I mean, I've got both myself. Human 97 says bench Davis or Robinson. I would bench Robinson for sure. Is it a good idea to TC Holland this week? I think next week is better, but this is fine as well. Appeal Mishi says, hey, Fran, benching dilemma. Got Lewis, Mikalenko, Dibbling, Rogers, and Bumo, Van de Ven, Palmer. I mean, would you Saka to Son in this case? I mean, I would still consider Saka to Son for most players and most of their teams. I would definitely play Lewis, Dibbling, and Bumo, Van de Ven. Palmer and Saka definitely would play regardless. So I don't know who you would bench. Is it just one? If it's just one player, then I would just bench probably Mikalenko in this situation. You think Mikalenko will start or might get a 20? I really don't know, right? Because you have to say that Mikalenko has been completely out of shape, right? He's been injured, he's been ill, and he hasn't played much football. So, but we've seen that ultimately they don't have too many bodies right now, right? They're playing sort of even midfielders as fullback. So I do think Mikalenko should start, but there is that threat there that he doesn't. Mind choosing between Son and Foden and Palmer. I mean, personally, I wouldn't go Palmer this game week. Like, if you wanted to go Palmer, I would just go Palmer next game week. If you wanted to go Son or Foden, this is the week to do so and to get started. I personally am a little bit more fond of Son than Foden still, but there is a price difference as well. So I'm also blocked, right? So maybe you can say I'm biased because I have triple city already. I don't really have. Why don't you wait next game week for Saka's Son? Son might not play much. I mean, but isn't that the same sort of argument for Saka as well? I guess with form, I think form is not something that I can necessarily predict, right? I mean, like if you want to make an argument of form, technically Saka just came off injured, quote unquote, within a game. So, I mean, is that his latest form? Yeah. So for me, it's just I would play the fixture, and I think Son for the most part has always played really consistent minutes. I think he's probably still going to play something like 80 potentially this week. Adama's actually really solid, really good underlying numbers. A lot of it's from City, of course, but no, he's played a lot of good minutes this season. I think Adama's actually a really solid pick, so that's a good pick. TC play this week. Good luck to anyone who's actually curious to see how many people are triple captaining. Seems more pop. It sounds like the TC is more popular now than when I put the TC on. Let's just put that in the chat. Dan Watson, thank you so much for the super chat as well. Would you sell Trent for a City defender on a free? If so, which one best replacement? And best replacement for Semenyo, you've got 6.7 million. I think because you're actually trying to use the funds from Trent to move into someone else, I still think Guardiola's the safest City defender because when you're selling Trent, you're selling someone who you're expecting to start almost every game, right? If you're going to replace him. So I think Guardiola still offers that to you, and I still think he's got better minutes than Lewis. I would go Guardiola. But if you need to go to Lewis, I think that's okay as well. It's acceptable as long as you have a deeper bench. I'm not quite sure what your sort of defensive bench is, but that's something to say. As I said, though, I would probably move Semenyo into Brennan Johnson for this game week. If you can't go to Brennan Johnson, I'd probably question whether you need to make the move at all or whether you want to just maybe move out of Semenyo instead because Trent is still a very, very fine hold. Arsenal ITKs are not bullish on Saka starting, let's put it this way, but that's not a leak. Fair enough. Thanks a lot for the information there. Okay, I need to... Not many people are doing the TC, but that's still a lot of people doing the TC, though, around 23%. I'll close the poll there because I think that's a good little indication. If you weren't blocked from Foden, would you go for Foden over Son? No, I think I'd still go for Son. What's the TC logic this week? My point is exactly the same as yours, Connor. I would still TC next week. But I can get I think part of the logic is that some people think that Wolves have been the worst team in the league on defense because they've conceded the most amount of goals. Not necessarily the case that they're the worst defense on expected goals conceded. I think they're bottom 3. And obviously it's an away fixture. So I'd obviously take my chances, as you guys know, because I like home and away, that sort of thing. But that's up to you, right? What do you think of mystery ship? I do think the mystery ship should be allowed to be played on a double game week. But as I said, I would still prefer, using it next week. Or, I mean, as using the triple captain next week, that is, of course. By the way, I'm probably going to make the first move on my team, which is going to be playing Leaf Davis over Gabriel. I wonder how many people are going to get upset about this first move that I've done. Who to bench, Raul or Rogers? I would bench Rogers for sure. Who to bench, Fran, Vandenberg or Greaves? I would bench Vandenberg. I'd just take the Greaves game. Saka to Son, Robertson or Toporo. I would do Robertson Toporo because I'm not quite sure if Robert. I mean, we've already seen that Simicast had some sort of international injury, right? An international break injury of sorts. So you need to think about that. I would probably still. I think if you feel like Robertson will start, and I think he really will, then just go Saka Son. But otherwise, I think this is a great week to go Porro, and I'd probably go Porro because it feels safer in terms of minutes. Timo Zilpit play the second game. That's a good point, actually. Hi, Frank. Could you please check Discord? I think all people can consider Saka Son, like irrespective of the situation. The only time I would never do it is just because of a hit, right? I'm just quickly checking Discord. Martinelli is a bit of a punt for you, I guess. I probably wouldn't take a hit, mate. That's what I would say. I would go either Brennan Johnson or I'd go Son. And I don't think there's necessarily a wrong answer there because there are some doubts attached to Martinelli that Arteta put in the presser, but I think it's very clear that Martinelli can play. From just sort of guessing with Arteta. I'm not sure why Leaf Davis over Gabriel is a joke. And it's just my decision as well. Ultimately, the market odds for clean sheets for this week for Ipswich are actually quite high. As far as I understand, the Ipswich sort of clean sheet odds are around about the same as Arsenal's. So I don't really have any issue with playing Leaf Davis this week. Why would you play DCL and Davis against each other? Ultimately, because it's still a symptom of like risk, right? Where I know that Gabriel's going to be higher owned. I'm okay with that. Leaf Davis's source of points isn't purely clean sheet related as well. The same way that Gabriel, I suppose, works out. Mr. Super Chat, sorry about that. Gilly. Ederson, Semenyo, Havertz to Pickford, Foden, Cunha. I don't really like Cunha this week, if I'm being honest. But I understand you want to go to Foden. So I don't really love Pickford either. I mean, why not consider Kelleher, though? It seems like Allison might be out for a while. So you could actually maybe just go Kelleher in the short term and then move him off to another goalkeeper later down the line. And you've got a bank of free transfers anyways. If you plan to play Cunha and you really want to play Cunha, I think that's fine. But I'd personally still save the money and maybe go for someone like Wood, maybe it's Delap, maybe Raul Jimenez, and then actually use the money in other positions later down the line. I don't think necessarily going for Cunha on 8 makes too much sense. It's a City game after all. I know City have been poor in defense, but yeah, that's just sort of my point. So yeah, that's one thing I'd say. But Cunha in 2 game weeks time could be quite interesting. So I guess if you are sort of projecting ahead and you don't really like anyone else over Cunha, that's fine. Marcus, your super chat was sell Saka, Diaz to Son / Johnson. I would probably go out of Diaz first. Like if you have Saka, I think the bigger fish to fry in your team is Diaz. So I wouldn't necessarily look towards going out of Saka unless you obviously have free transfers to do so. So that's what I would say. I would definitely go Diaz to Son first if you want to do that, and you can hold Saka in that situation. Free transfers currently starting Watkins, Rogers, ESR, Saka, advice. I mean, I think this is a decent game week to maybe move out of Watkins and Rogers potentially. It's not necessarily like if you look at the Aston Villa fixtures over the next 4, I think 3 of them are pretty bad. So you could potentially go Watkins to Solanke, and then Rodgers could be also upgraded to someone else that you can afford. I'm not sure necessarily who you can afford in the midfield to upgrade Rodgers, but you could maybe even go to, let's say, a Brandon Johnson this game week, and maybe just move double Aston Villa, double Spurs potentially. Tamer, thanks for your super chat as well. Defense, Van de Ven, Lewis, Gabriel, Okoli, Nuri. Forward, Wood, Delap, and Holland. Goalkeeper, Raya, Fabianski. I mean, I think your team should just be Lewis, Gabriel, and Nuri. And then you should be playing Wood, Delap, Holland. And then in the midfield, you should be benching Rodgers. I think that's the only advice that I have. Eve says 2 free transfers, Bowen to Brennan and Semenyo to Garnacho. Honestly, I'm not super sure about Garnacho. And ultimately, I think maybe moving out of Bowen isn't that ideal because he's still a decent pick, ultimately. This is a bad gaming for him. I totally get that when we talk about Bowen. But I guess it's you've got the free transfers. I'm not in love with Garnacho because I really can't say that he's going to start every single game. We've seen Ahmad has played more than well enough to get good minutes. So yeah, I'm a bit concerned about, I guess, going into Garnacho because I don't know ultimately if there's anyone else around Garnacho's price point who's actually got an amazing sort of ability to, I guess, cover Garnacho in a future where you might want to sell him. Because of course with Brennan, you could technically still go Eze, for example, but then you don't really have too many players in that price point in and of itself that you can move around. So once Brennan's fixtures go a bit worse, and let's say his minutes get a bit worse, that's a problem. And the same sort of logic applies to Garnacho, even though the fixtures run is really good. I think you can tempt yourself with Garnacho as long as you're comfortable. Yeah. You sent me something on Twitter, Philip. Hey, bro, is benching Dibbling, Greaves, phase your thoughts? I would bench. Are you just asking me like one player to bench? I mean, I would just bench probably phase, to be honest, in that situation. Another super chat from Rohit. Hope you're doing well. Watkins, Solanke, and Saka to Foden / Son for 2 free transfers. Already got Palmer, but no Spurs. We'll just do one. I think that Son will still play better minutes than Foden over the next 4. But I can understand the appeal of Foden because ultimately you might still prefer Foden as a player, if that can make sense at all. Because like Foden is someone who operates essentially. This is still a Son who plays sort of like an inside left winger. But yeah, I mean, it's really up to you, I think. And probably the call to make is what you think about Son's minutes this game week. If you think Son's minutes this game week are very strong, I think I'd probably lean Son. But if you think, he's coming from a hamstring injury, he might be managed a little bit more, then I guess you can just mentally just go with Foden because you know that Foden doesn't really have any limitations to his minutes and it's a good sort of starting game week to make that move. I'm okay with both personally. I'd probably still go Son though because I think his ownership might just be lower as well. Why am I benching Gabriel? Ultimately, I just think this is a good chance to play Leaf Davis, and that's it. What's the reasoning behind Rodgers benching Dibbling start? I mean, Fulham, I think, are a great team. So for me, it's just looking into the fixture here. I think Fulham have played really well this season, have defended really well this season as well. And I don't have too much interest, I guess, in actually playing someone else in that sort of position. And that's pretty much it. Dibbling has his best fixture on paper. Like, this is basically Dibbling's best fixture all season long. And he gets to play versus Leicester. So I'll take that chance, particularly when Fulham actually look really strong and it's an away game. Son actually started the season super wide, but actually most of his average positions in recent games have actually been inside. So I would actually ask you to have a look at that yourself. Vignesh says, great showing Fran. Diaz and Havertz to Son and Wood. Keep Saka. I think keeping Saka is fine. I always, of course, like if you own Diaz, it makes sense to sort of make moves around him instead. And I think, as I said to some other people previously, yeah, I'd focus on Diaz out over Son out or over Saka out. I think Saka should still start. We don't have any leaks for Arsenal though, and I don't think we ever have. Why is Gabriel benched? Well, I felt like benching him for Leaf Davis, and that's pretty much it. I'm gonna go pretty anti-Saka anyways, or anti-Arsenal. Is Timber starting? I have no idea. Generally, no idea. I mean, it's very likely that we didn't really see White, for example, traveling with a team, right? Unless I'm wrong. So maybe Timber could start. Is Diaz to Madison a good move? Yes, it is, but I'm gonna have to put you in timeout. You currently at triple Spurs. Luke says BJ, PP, and DS. Okay. Triple City. Would you move out of Guardiola Poro to allow Son / Foden in the midfield, leaning towards Guardiola? I honestly, I wouldn't move out of these players because I think you're still gaining a lot of value from these defenders compared to the next available replacement in defense. And okay, fine. Saka and or Son and Foden might be a little bit better than what your midfield is for now, but you're also going to lose out in defense anyways, right? But you're using free transfers to sort of make, I guess, what I would say are potentially sideways moves. So I probably wouldn't do it. You hope my Gab benching doesn't work out. That's fine. Do you think Trossard starts? I think he really should. Foden worth captaining this week? I mean, if you got Holland, no. If you don't have Holland, then I think yes. I'd still probably start with a Salah captaincy first, and then even maybe Son. -4 for Colwell to Davies, or just play Dunk. I would just play Dunk. I mean, it's not like Leaf Davis is good enough to actually cover +4 points on Dunk. There's no leak so far, BDJ. Sorry about that. You've got Luis Diaz. You want to bring a Spurs mid? I would just bring Brennan Johnson because I don't think there's a need to sort of stretch the money to Madison, if that makes sense. I am bringing in Son, Doctor. I'm bringing in Son, but I'm waiting for like any potential last minute information because obviously today is an Arsenal day. Today is also a Tottenham day, so might as well just wait. Dr. Yazan, thanks for the super chat. Pope or Pickford or Onana and Raul and Lewin. I would honestly, if I had the chance to go out of Calvert Lewin into Raul Jimenez and it didn't cost me a free transfer, I would definitely be on Raul Jimenez. As far as Pope, Pickford, Onana, I really don't rate Pope very much at all. I think Newcastle's been shocking this season. I'd probably honestly go on Onana in that situation. FPL Mishi says benching dilemma. You've got Lewis, Guardiola, Gabriel, Mikolenko, Dibbling, Rogers. Who would you bench? As I said, I think the player that I would bench in this situation is probably going to be Mikolenko. And if you wanted to bench someone in the midfield and you're talking about two benchings, then I'd bench Rogers as well. But otherwise, I think your team's totally fine to go. You can do Saka to Son if you want, but that's up to you. I think for me, it's a 50-50 decision because it's whether I think I need any future moves in my team. I think I don't. Or at least I think one free transfer is going to keep me going. Savio chance of playing, absolutely no idea, mate. Sorry. I haven't seen many predicted City lineups this week. And I have to say this is probably not a great week for Savio anyways, because unfortunately the minutes so far have been really, really poor for him. But I guess the pro is that Did we actually see Savio travel to those sort of Brazilian games? He did, right? So he played there as well, which is actually not a good sign. I think Savio's minutes should be low again. Start console Robinson. I'd probably start Robinson. You're debating on starting one of Greaves, TAA, or Mazraoui. I think TAA is the easiest ones right there, Scott. What is the reasoning behind Rodgers benching, Dibbling start? I mean, it's just the fixtures. Bruno and Saka for... Why am I benching Gabriel? Sense Payne. I don't really mind Payne. Why not take some risk? Payne is fine with me. Sorry, I have to update something for my KWL team. Yeah. And I'm also going to quickly check if we have any potential leaks whatsoever. Which, to be honest, honestly, it doesn't seem like we have leaks. So that is that. Yeah, I literally can't see any leaks at all today. Just seems like we've got a huge lack of information. Um, I could check for some predicted lineups if you guys want for some of the key teams. I mean, in some of the Arsenal predicted lineups, most people are predicting Saka to start, so there's no problems there. Um, Chelsea, nothing special there. Liverpool, nothing special there. Quite a lot of people actually predicting a Lucius start, which I think it makes sense because he actually got a lot of rest in the international break, so maybe that actually could happen if you're a Diaz owner. But there's still going to be a risk that Gakpo could start, right? As far as Man City, most people predicting Lewis and Guardiola start. I don't think that's a huge issue. Not many people predicting a Savio start, if that helps. Is there any Spurs potentially? As far as Spurs predicted lineup, it just seems like, yeah, the default where everyone predicts Sun starts as well. Okay, I think that's it. Unfortunately, as I said, there's no leaked information that I can really see at all today. So I think that's unfortunately all we have. Going back to chat, so I'm just going to quickly check if I've missed any super chats. Tuckles, or why play Davis against DCL, and is Havertz a risk? I don't think Havertz is a risk at all. I think Havertz will 100% start. I can't see Havertz not starting. I think that truly was a classic international break injury. And Julian as well, start console Robinson. I think I answered the question, so I think I would definitely start Robinson in that situation. The only reason why I'm playing Leaf Davis is just for a bit of risk. I know a lot more people going to own Arsenal defense. But I hope for like a negative outcome for Arsenal defense, I'm totally comfortable just playing Leaf Davis and maybe getting a little bit of upside through the risk there. As I said, the clean sheet odds are very, very similar. The one player that I might consider benching is like someone like maybe, I mean, I could bench DCL in theory, but I probably wouldn't. I'm more leaning to actually just playing DCL and Davis anyways. Well, I think we're rapidly approaching the time where I'm probably going to make Saka to Son as a move, and it's close. FPL Tony said there'd be no Saka leaks. Any leaks will be guesses. I think that's fair because in reality, we've never had an Arsenal leaker, right, in FPL. Would you take a hit for Dean to Lewis? I honestly, I think it could pay off. So yeah. Don't own Solanke. Should I do Saka to Son, own Palmer? I think Saka to Son is totally fine. I own Palmer as well. I'd much rather go out of Saka than Palmer this week. So yeah, makes sense to move. When will by using bench boost? Literally, we're going to be talking game week. Like the game week will have a 2 in front of it. And that's when I'll be using the bench boost. So many game weeks down the line instead. Someone on chat said Saka has not traveled with the squad. We're not sure about it, right? Yesterday we saw someone travel with the squad. We know that there were 2 or 3 players missing from the sort of video that Tommy Gunn circulated as well, you know, in terms of the Arsenal team arriving at the hotel. So yeah, think about that. I would say that it's very likely that Saka still starts today. I just don't think it's not worth a -4 at all, Peter. I would definitely not do it for a -4. Which to bench? Trent, Gabriel, Lewis, Aina. I'd probably still bench Aina in that situation. How likely is the Saka to Son for you? It's 100% happening, I think. Why bench Gabriel? As I said, I think it's just similar clean sheet odds to Leaf Davis, and I'd like to take the free risk. Use your words, my brother. What do you mean? What was your question, Tarek? Does Havertz start? I think Havertz should start. I don't have any information, but I can't see. Why is everyone asking if Havertz is going to start? I can't see why Havertz wouldn't start. I think Johnson is very good as a pick. For a lot of people who are like struggling to, let's say, look for someone at a price point below 8, like Johnson is for me the most standard transfer to make. Diaz to Johnson, play Aina or Dibbling. I'd play Dibbling. I'd definitely play I'd definitely consider Diaz to Johnson. Yeah, I think that's a strong move generally. Is Son confirmed? Havertz was marked as injured. Yeah, but Havertz is fine. I think he was only marked as injured like some of the other players because of the international break. He's fine. Why Dibbling over Rogers? Just simply a play on fixtures. I really don't mind playing people based on good fixtures, and if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But I'm comfortable with the decision. Basically, is the general gist. All right, so I'm probably gonna run the changes to my team now, and lock them in. Yep, I think that's it. I'm just gonna lock the transfers in. I mean, there's 25 minutes left. Do you guys think I should wait to make the transfer? I'll just pull it quickly. Let's see if I've missed any super chats. Oh, Monks, thank you so much for the super chat. Hey, Fran, Bruno and Trent to Son and Porro, or would you do Saka to Son? I would consider Bruno to Trent, yeah. I think, look, it comes down to like a general faith, right? Saka's higher owned, so there's a risk element to, let's say, keeping Bruno and Trent. At the same time, I can understand people thinking that Saka plays for a much more high performing team and have absolutely zero faith in Bruno. So it seems logical for most people to do your sort of top move. But I think ultimately, if you have an ounce of faith in Bruno, it probably makes sense actually to do Saka to Son. That's really up to you. I think they're both close moves though. And I guess you need to factor in, if you get to roll one of your free transfers, are there future moves for your team that could actually be really beneficial, as opposed to using the 2 free transfers for this game week? So I think that's the kind of question. I'm comfortable with both moves ultimately. And I think one is higher risk in the sense that if you go for Bruno, you're basically seeking risk and you're seeking reward. Whereas if you go for Saka, everyone owns him. right? Less people are happy to part ways with Saka this week. Mo, thank you for the super chat. I'm not sure if you sent any messages, but I'll look out for them in the chat. Dream Brother 22, thank you for the super chat as well. Start 2 of Dallo, Lewis, and Rogers. I would definitely just bench. I would just bench Rogers. Honestly, I think this is a really poor fixture for Rogers. When I looked at the market odds for Rogers, it was really, really low. So it's clearly just signaling that it's not exactly a great game for Rogers, anyways. And I would take that chance. I think also just to flag as well, Rob TFPL shared a great graphic in terms of projected goal scores for this game week. I'll just quickly run you through the list. So it was Haaland, Solanke, Isak, Son, Salah, Gordon, Jota, Wood, Hoyland, Delap, Welbeck, Saka. So that's the list of players. Son is obviously way higher. He's got projected goals of 0.61, Saka 0.41. So this is why some people are considering Saka to Son, which makes sense. Saka is obviously higher than Palmer this week, but as I said, I do think that over the next 4 fixtures, on average, it's still better for Palmer, which is why I'm considering to go Saka out as opposed to Palmer out. However, I mean, Welbeck is really high up there. As you can see, Wood's really high up there. No DCL, but that's that. And I think the lovely man is he's also shared top 3 projected point scorers for each team. Robert T has, so that's really, really helpful. And yeah, ultimately in terms of like goal share, anything interesting that I'd call out is that Watkins seems really low. Calvert-Lewin's very close anyways to the likes of Wood. He's got 0.39 projected goals to Wood 0.45, so that's pretty close anyways. And that's the same as Raul Jimenez at 0.39. So yeah, all these sort of budget forwards are pretty close for this game week because all of them in theory have a good fixture on paper, except for Brighton actually. I mean, they've got a pretty tough game, and Welbeck still has really high goal share, which just shows you how good, I guess, Brighton are rated nowadays. Dibbling actually has 0.23 projected goals. So that's pretty high in the context of comparing him to some of the other midfielders in the game, and particularly considering Rogers as well. Rogers has 0.15 projected goals on Aston Villa, whereas Dibbling has 0.23 projected goals. And that basically is sort of my reasoning as well for why I'm playing Dibbling. Because yes, of course, less chances of a clean sheet, but Dibbling is going to be someone who I'm expecting to do a lot better when it comes to attack this game week, if possible. Tom, thanks for the super chat. Saka to Foden or TAA plus Semenyo to Madison plus Van de Ven. Personally, I would go Saka to Foden. I really like keeping TAA for this game week. If you can bench Semenyo, I think that'd be nice. But if you can't bench Semenyo, I can actually understand making the TAA move that you're planning to do. As far as Mo, your super chat, thank you so much for sending that in. Saka and Havertz to Son and Solanke. 3 free transfers, maybe stall on Solanke. I actually really don't mind making both the transfers ultimately. Because I think when you're moving Saka and Havertz, you're basically moving the full Arsenal penalty share into the full Tottenham penalty share. And ultimately, Tottenham have a much better fixture on papers, is the way that I see it. If you want to stall on the move, that's fine. Arguably, if you want to even roll, right, I think that's fine as well. But I do think that there is upside this week. And I think looking at Rob T's graphic as well is very helpful for that. Because ultimately, if I just read quickly from Tottenham, 0.69 and 0.61 projected goals for Solanke and Son. For Saka and Havertz, it's 0.41 and 0.35 respectively. So if you want to make that sort of leap of faith into sort of jumping into that Tottenham game, I mean, that this would be your chance, right? So hopefully that makes sense to you. As far as Brandon's question, thoughts on Saka to Foden over Son? As I said, Foden over Son is definitely a choice. And for me, it's close to a 50-50. I prefer Son just because I think I feel a bit more assured about his minutes in the short term. Compared to, let's say, Foden, who, for example, last week there was no KDB when he played versus Fulham. He was still taken off at 77 minutes. I know that Son can be taken off at 77 minutes, but over time, he should be playing close to 90. Whereas with Foden, I'm not necessarily sure that's the case, particularly since KDB's in training and he can come in and take a few more minutes in the interior positions. Murph says, Savio /Saka /TA out for -4. I think you can skip the -4. Don't do the Saka to Son move. I would just do Johnson Guardiola, and that's what I would do. Dr. Yazan, yeah, I can definitely check Discord right now. Thanks for the super chat, though. Let me see. So your wild card, Dr. Yazan, I would just play Dibbling 100% over Rogers. I think the wild card's good, though. I mean, I would consider on the wild card also maybe thinking about... Honestly, actually, I don't have any issues with this team. I think this is a great wild card team. I would consider maybe Kelleher in the short term. Because I feel like if you're going to go Onana anyways, why not go Kelleher plus another goalkeeper? Or even go Kelleher plus Fabianski, and then you can just move out of Kelleher later down the line. And you could save like the 0.5 to make a better move with one of your players, right? I think that's possible as well. I would definitely play Dibbling over Rogers, but I think that's a very, very strong team, and I like the team. So, lovely wild card. What am I doing with Saka? I'm planning to sell him, basically. Reasoning for Gabriel bench over Davis. Similar clean sheet odds, less effective ownership on Leaf Davis, so I'll take the punt. Stop spamming for the chat, maybe. Yep, thanks for the moderators for helping out there. Chisel Planet coming in clutch. Thank you very much. Hope you're doing well. Beardy J says 2 free transfers. Trent, Gabriel, Porto, Consa. Thoughts on making transfers this week or next? I mean, ultimately, I actually think looking at your team, there really aren't any transfers to be made. You could go Havertz to Solanke is probably the only move that I would suggest. This is actually a really good solid game week on paper, so I wouldn't do anything. Steve says, hi, Fran, play Mikolenko or Greaves. I would just play Greaves because there's a bit of doubt to Mikolenko starting. You just arrived and you came in clutch. That wildcard is thanks to me. Fantastic. All right, we're about to hit 1,000 in the chat, so if you guys could like the stream and subscribe, that'd be absolutely lovely. As I said, you don't need to do Gabriel on the bench. I've posted personally myself that I'm going to bench Gabriel. This is my own choice. I think it's basically a 45-55 call. I like Davis's fixture a lot more. Yes, of course, I'm playing him versus Calvert-Lewin, which sounds like nonsense, but still think he can get attacking returns, and that's pretty much why I'm doing this move. Otherwise, I think it's time for me to lock in the move. The big daddy of moves, Saka to Son. I'm going to pull the trigger on that move now. All right, done. Always feels super, I guess, like scary doing a move on live stream for whatever reason. Why am I taking Saka out? Just to go for Son. That's it. Nothing special, really. I plan to go back into Saka in 4 game weeks time. Oh, did I miss the super chat, Abdullah? Sorry about that. Did I miss the super chat? Alfred says 2 free transfers, reasonable Diaz plus Havertz for Palmer and Raul. I think that's fine. If you want to go for Palmer simply because you're sort of scared of missing out on Palmer, that's fine. I will say that that's a very defensive move for this game because it's not a great fixture for Palmer, but I can understand the sentiment of wanting to go for Palmer. Anyways, I personally would actually consider rolling if you have the confidence that Diaz starts. This way you can actually move out of Diaz and Havertz when they actually have that really bad fixture on paper for the both of them in the next game week. But that comes down to whether or not you actually think that Diaz will start, right? So if Diaz starts, I think you can roll. If you think Diaz is going to be benched and you want to make a defensive move and go for Palmer because you think structurally you'd like to have Palmer in your team, I can understand going for Palmer. Abdullah, sorry, I missed your super chat. Calvert-Lewin to Delap and Semenyo to McNeil. I personally think that, I mean, if you're going to believe that McNeil is a good, decent pick, then I think you might as well believe that Calvert-Lewin is decent. I wouldn't do Calvert-Lewin to Delap. I would consider Semenyo to McNeil, and that's pretty much it. Hope that answers that question for you. Vignesh as well. I think actually, my bad, I've answered your question. Start Ezer Gabriel. Why Gabriel benched? There's no leaks. I'm just planning to do so because I just think I would like to play Leaf Davis, and that's pretty much it. Salah or Solanke captain? I'd probably go Salah. Would you start Greaves instead of Lewin? No, I would start Lewin. Would you move out Saka or João Pedro? I mean, I'd move out João Pedro probably. Watkins, Saka, Foden, or Son captain? I definitely wouldn't do Watkins. I'd probably do Foden or Son. It has to be one of the two. I'd probably go Son. Buna has attacked. What has he done? Has he said Saka's out? There's no news on Saka, guys. Like, there's just generally no news. Fran, Guardiola, Gabriel to start. I'd go Guardiola personally. I just think the fixture's so much better. Even like, you know, taking into account all the things like Arsenal are much better defense than City. Is Havertz starting? He really should be starting. I can't see Havertz not starting. Start Dibbling or Robertson? I would start Dibbling personally. I mean, I've started dibbling my situation. People are playing Diaz. Would you play Saliba or Greaves? I would definitely play Saliba. The only reason why I'm actually going Leaf Davis over an Arsenal defender is simply because I think Leaf Davis is extremely attacking as a player. Someone on Twitter said Saka's out. Yeah, but that someone on Twitter is not reliable. He's actually just a troll. Diaz to Madison or Johnson? I'd probably go Johnson. I'd rather save money in that situation. Because I don't think that there's actually much separating Madison and Johnson. And as I always say, that Johnson is really high expected goal dominant. So, you know, why pay for less? Am I clinically insane going no Palmer until probably game week 12? No, you're not. Going Palmer in game week 12 actually makes a lot of sense. The only reason why I made the -4 for Palmer is because I did generally think that Bruno would not get the appeal. And I also thought that I would be priced out of Palmer by 12. And that's pretty much it. I definitely don't think I would have gone Palmer necessarily on game week 8. But as it turns out, people are really prioritizing Palmer as a pick. And I can understand why Palmer has still ended up on game week 8 wildcards. Start NDI or Gabriel? I'd still start Gabriel. Garnacho and Johnson both get a brace today. Okay. Good luck to that. I mean, it's plausible. I think that one of them gets a brace. Maybe the two of them getting a brace is a little bit of a stretch, but I wish you the best of luck. 100%. Start Rodgers or Adama. I would start Adama. Personally, I think I would start the Fulham midfielders over Rodgers this week. I would start Dibbling over Rodgers this week. If you own any of these other midfielders, why would you ever play Rodgers over them? I just think it's so much more of a better fixture than what Rodgers has. I mean, Rodgers might do well, but that's sort of my take. Wait, what? Oh, one of the Arsenal journalists is actually saying that. No. That's Buna. That's Buna. No, okay, sorry. That's Arsenal troll. That's troll. That's trolling. Sorry, my bad. What's your thoughts on Martinelli? I think honestly Martinelli should be starting this game week. I know that there's like ultimately what it probably is just going to be like the reverse of like what happened in the previous game where Martinelli and Trossard was benched. I think those players are likely to play. Saka's not out, guys. That's not the real Charles Watts. I just got baited myself by Buna. J Pup says start Flecken over Verbruggen. Look, this is a 50-50 decision, Flecken over Verbruggen. And I remember actually discussing it yesterday with someone else on a spaces called FPL Henners. So I think I would just back Flecken because I personally just rate United much less than Newcastle, and that's all I can answer to you. I think it's a bad game week on paper for both keepers, so I would just go Flecken, just because of an intuitive decision on a 50-50 based on Man United. Why Lewis over Gabriel? I just want to go against the field of ownership of Arsenal. Any Spurs leaks? There are no Spurs leaks whatsoever. John Jackson or Calvert-Lewin? I would play Calvert-Lewin. I think. Salah to Son or keep Salah? I would keep Salah 100% in this game week. Start Rodgers or Howard Bellis? I would start Rodgers. Would you start Dallo or Gabriel? I would probably still start Gabriel. Is Saka playing? I think Saka should be playing, yes. Can't really see why he wouldn't be. Please don't spam. Agreed. Thank you very much. Start Dibbling or McNeil. I'd probably actually still start Dibbling, honestly. Eze or Rogers, I would go with Eze, 100%. Rogers bench one, probably. You think Rogers bench one should be over Gabriel? No, I still think I'd play Gabriel in this situation. We need Andy Martin down there to investigate more. That was amazing. That was actually amazing content from Andy. That was class. Is Havertz starting? I think it's fine. Why Saka to Son? Just gambling the next 4 fixtures, and that's pretty much it. Okay, I think I'm probably gonna post my team. I know it's a bit psychopathic, but yeah. I can understand people don't love the Gabriel benching, but that's okay. I'm not asking you to bench Gabriel, I'm just asking myself to. So FaZe or Pau Torres, I'd play FaZe. Thoughts on Jimenez? I think it's a really solid pick. But ultimately, like Delap, Raul are probably my three favorite budget forwards, and I think there's not really much separating them. Any news on Saka and Havertz? I think they're both fine and should start. I really don't know about Saka though. I mean, like, there's a lot of people saying a lot of stuff about Saka, but in reality, I don't think we have Arsenal leaks, right? They don't exist. They don't really exist. Since Team News and Ticks has sort of gone into retirement, we just don't have leaks, and I think he's lost his sort of juice, if that makes sense. Sell TA plus Watkins plus Semenyo plus Wood to Son to Guardiola -4. I guess this is all to get Son in the team, which is fair. I don't love it for a -4 if I'm being honest, but then you are shifting off a Watkins and Semenyo poor game on paper, so I don't really mind that, like medium to long term, because you're probably just going to. I think if your team has money in the bank in the future to move Son back out to someone else, I think that's fine. Salah's question was with the team, is Saka to Son? No, Saka to Son slash phone is definitely not worth a -4. I wouldn't do that at all. So I think your team's perfectly fine and good to go. Why Gabriel bench? I'm just comfortable benching Gabriel. I think clean sheet odds are very similar for Ipswich, and I think Leif Davis is a highly attacking player. That's pretty much it. FaZe or Pau Torres? I'd play FaZe. Rogers or Winks? I'd play Rogers. Love the content. Foden plus Johnson in for Saka. I mean, I think that's fine. I think that's actually a really strong move pair. Any move to sort of move out of Semenyo is fine. But if you ask me the question of Rogers versus Semenyo, I'd probably actually go Semenyo. I think. I'd still probably go Semenyo over Rogers. It's pretty close, though, as a call. Pretty tight, at least. That's like a true 50-50 Rogers Semenyo, I would say. Why Diaz over Gabriel or Davis over Gabriel? Just clean sheet odds similar like sort of attacking production from both really, and I'd like to take my chances against Arsenal this game week. All right, you got 3 minutes to lock in your moves, so do lock in those moves. Bowen to Johnson or roll. I think Johnson's fine as a transfer. I guess if you wanted to roll, it really just comes down to whether you have a lot of like 2 free transfer moves down the line that you want to make. Appreciate that, Tarek. Bench 1, TAA, Porto, Gabriel, Greaves. I bench Greaves easily. If you could start one of Havertz or Solanke, who would you start? I would definitely start Solanke. But honestly, I'd try to play both if you have them in your team. You got Johnson. Should I still do Saka to Son? I think it's fine, yeah, if you want to do that. I mean, I have Solanke and I'm still going Son, right? The minus hits sometimes are really turning your game. Last year, you got plenty of them and ended up 5K. You never know, right? I think like sometimes when you have a bad team on paper or like you take hits, like sometimes things can go crazy. Sometimes you play passive and things can go really poorly. But ultimately, I think as long as you're happy with your team, the decisions you're making, like that's the most important thing in FPL. TC Holland, I'd probably do it next week personally. But if you want to do it this week, that's fine. No emojis, guys. But I would definitely go Foden captain over Solanke just because Son's available. And I think Son is still the penalty taker in that situation. The Spurs attacking blank is going to hit so different. Why are you saying this to me, Philip? Semenyo to Madison and Watkins to Cunha thoughts. I don't love Watkins to Cunha this week because I just don't think it's a great Cunha fixture, but I can understand the appeal of going Semenyo to Madison. I think I would actually just budget down even more than Cunha is what I would do. Already did a -4. Don't take a hit for Son. 100% do not do that. Why bench Gabriel? As I said, the reason why I'm benching Gabriel is just simply because I like the Davis play this week from a risk perspective, and that's pretty much it. Hey, Fran, start defender. I'd start Gabriel over NDIA though. Choose one to play, Gabriel or Van de Ven or Greaves. I would play Gabriel, I think. Yeah. The only reason why I like Leaf Davis is because he's super attacking. Oh my god, the deadline is over. Totally actually missed that. Okay. Wow. That's the deadline. I do think Saka starts. I think Gabriel starts. I think Havertz starts as well. So I like if you own some of those Arsenal players, like if you wanted to move into the Spurs players, I think that's totally fine. But you're not gonna like you shouldn't have made that move based on the decision that you think Saka's benched or Havertz is benched. Like you might as well be ready for pain at 5:30 p.m. today. I know I am. Luca, thank you. Thanks to the planet for gifting you that one membership. So yeah, congratulations to everyone. Some people went Foden, some people went Son. That's pretty awesome. Good luck to you guys. Anyways, take care, guys. Hope you guys have a wonderful game week, and I generally hope you guys have some lovely green arrows. Hopefully my team also works out well, and that's it. Take care, and goodbye. I'll see you guys soon.